This is how we do it. So just some mounts there. If I wouldn't have put on a wing, this would have been a lot easier. But you know, you gotta live and learn. Don't put this in. So now I'm just gonna show you my car in detail. So obviously the first thing everyone's talking about is what is the engine, and under the barn is a Toyota 3UZ VVTi engine that is completely stock. Never made any internal modifications because I just tried to keep it as stock and reliable as possible. And also, there's not a lot you can do on NA engines from this kind. So, as you can see, I've said it before, we added some universal throttle body. This is all from BMW because you can just get them everywhere. I made some coil mounts for the Volkswagen coils, and you have to excuse the dirtiness. I haven't really touched the car in like 2 or 3 years because it just works. Radiator lines for the coolant system in the back, tubed the whole front, so you can just take off the whole front. Some oil coolers to get the oil temperatures in check, so you can, you know, drive as much as you want to. Super simple belt setup is just a single belt driving the alternator because there's nothing else that needs to be driven. Some external, you know, oil filter and some headlights, which, well, they don't really work in the night. I've tried it. You're going blind. You see some leftover parts from when this car actually had a turbocharger. So I had this engine turbocharged. Well, not exactly this engine, it's another one. But you see some like left behinds, like there's the boost control valve, the oil return line are still sitting here, blocked off vacuum lines for turbo stuff. But pretty much that is pretty much it. I mean, on the front axle you can see the IRP angle kit, which was a big change from what I had before. I used to run a self-developed kit that I built together with Florian de Bode back in the Netherlands. And then I switched to the IRP kit, which is frankly quite incredible to drive. I mean, it has endless angle, it's very easy to steer, very good feedback. And if you're into drifting on your MX-5 and you want more angle, I can highly recommend this kit for you because it's chef's kiss. Awesome. So moving on, like the exterior, you can see like it has not a whole lot of stock body panels. We have a air duct that's just simply a universal one for an S chassis. Deuce front skirt, front bumper, and some carbon Miata Rocket Bunny overfenders, and some of the Deuce skirts. This door is actually something I built myself with together with a friend. So this is actually in carbon fiber out of skin. So simply because my old doors were banged to shit. And so this one flexes really nicely and it's extremely light. Inside it's still a stock door, but anyhow, it looks cool. I think it rounds up the whole look of the car. On the front we have some Atara Racing Pisang wheels. This is an 8x15 ET0 wheel on the front, running a 195 tire. Same sort of wheel on the back. So this is running a 9x15 ET-13 wheel in the back because I figured let's not run spacers, let's just run a proper tire wheel setup. And this is also running a 195 tire, sometimes a 205, you know, depending on what you get your hands on. And again, Rocket Bunny rear fender. This whole rear quarter is actually out of fiberglass as well, after I had quite the crash in Czech Republic. It's a fiberglass rear quarter with a fiberglass over fender bolted to it. I mean, it works. And going to the back, I just got a wing from a friend because I used to run a wing on my car, and I wanted to run a wing again because wings are cool, I guess. In the back, this is like just a stock rear bumper. Back here you can see one of the other big parts is the rear radiator setup. So just some mounts there. If I wouldn't have put on a wing, this would have been a lot easier. But you know, you gotta live and learn. Don't put this in. So this is just a stock rear trunk lid, and the duckbill spoiler has a nice feature. So you can put it down like this. So back here, this is the magic part of the whole car. It's a GT86 radiator with a swirl tank we built a few years ago, and it just helps get the air bubbles out of the system. Running some humongous rear fans. This is like Comex fans, which you usually see on like tractors and everything. And they make insane amount of air, so this helps cool the system down as well. The battery is still in the stock position, but well, everything back here is tubed as well. So like going back from here, everything is just cut off on the car. It's just tubing, and back here is the hidden is the fuel system. So we're running a Bosch 044 fuel pump that goes into a catch tank, and it then gets fed from a Pureburg E3L pump in the front to the engine. Everything is kind of tucked away and hidden. I mean, there's not a lot of space in an MX-5, so you just have to work with whatever you can get. And so everything is kind of hidden, but it never made me any problems, so just keep it where it is. Small feature, small detail that is like... So with the rear radiator, I had to get some way to get the air out of the car again. So I got this mesh, which isn't completely random why it shows this mesh, because I'm a big fan of the Ferrari F40. And if you've seen an F40 in real life, the whole rear panel of the car is actually just a mesh which you can look through. So I just tried to copy a F40 as close as possible. Loving it. It's a good way to get hot air out of the system. If we can move down, I'll show you some stuff on the rear end. Let's just go front to back. Now we're going all the way down here. So back here you can see the obvious drift mods. Just a small tubing from the frame to get the car jacked up. But also there is hidden a big differential which has a BMW logo on it. This is actually a differential from a 7 Series BMW, which is incredibly huge, and it withstands all abuse you could throw at it. Drive shafts are from an RX-7 FC Turbo 2, which are impossible to find. Going into a I kind of made myself while laying on the floor. Wasn't easy. Upper control arms are modified to be extended, and the lower those are one of the rare parts on the car that is still actually stock. I'm running a BC Racing coilover in the back because the damper range you can adjust is gigantic. Like you can go from S-Class to the fucking hardest suspension you've ever driven, which makes this car very you can get very good mechanical grip out of the car even with a small tire. I'll show you how soft the suspension is, but I'm quite honestly afraid it's just going to take off downhill because this is a very steep hill right now. And Vitaly's scared that the car's going to crash into his BMW. He's not wrong. So, moving into the interior. Everything is kept as simple as possible. Like, keep it clean, race car stuff, you know. So, seats, just some Recaro SPG seats. This seat is actually the seat I bought 12 years ago, and I was in my street car as well. As is the Nardi steering wheel, and the seat belts are all still same since 12 years. Dashboard is just a stock one that's been flocked, and I cut off the bottom part because I like the freestanding look of a dashboard. Switch panel I made with a friend together, 21 Works. He made it out of ABS, vacuum formed it, threw all the switches in there I need. For the gauges, it's just a stock RPM gauge from the MX-5 cluster and some water temp, oil pressure, oil temp. I actually got a gauge here to see how much fuel I got. It's just an ohm meter going to the fuel sending unit. And hidden behind the panel where the airbags would be, this is actually where all the fuses, the relays are, so everything just tucked away, kept it clean as possible. Pedals all stock, and down here you can actually see this is the Opel Corsa steering column, which has worked fantastically for many years. Shifter going into the BMW 328 transmission that has been adapted with an ABC clutch kit and has a Tilton 2-disc clutch. Very reliable. And as you can see, this is like, there's a big panel here from the transmission tunnel. The story behind it is simply the BMW transmission is just too big for a MX-5 transmission tunnel. So I cut it open and made my own transmission tunnel cover. Fly off, hydro, ASD, all as well, something I've been running for 12 years in this car now. Never touched it, it just works. The shut-off valve that is keeping this car from flying into Vitaly's car right now, which is doing a fantastic job, I might say. And just, you know, with spacing, there's so many issues, like where do you put each part. For example, this has a fire extinguisher system with the bottle being right under my legs because I couldn't find any other spot to put this thing. Down in the passenger footwell you can see the ECU that is controlling the 3UZ engine right now, and some fancy covers which are actually covering the radiator lines because they're going through the interior under the passenger seat. There just simply is no other space to get any water lines ran from the back to the front on an NX5. If anyone knows any other way to do it, like through the floor, hit me up. I'm not gonna change it anyway, but I'm just curious how you've done it. Which is also a reason why I can only take small passengers with me, because the seat is incredibly high, so everyone just bumps their head on my hardtop. So completely fully caged, as you can see, well-done cage. It has a nice cover on the back, have a firewall, because everything under there is gone. Everything in this car is kept as simple and like no big showy stuff. Keep everything black, have the aluminium, like polish it up a little bit, and just keep it simple. Simple is the best way to do it. That's it. That's pretty much it. That's all there is to this car.